full meal deal.
This is not gonna be easy.
Hold on a second, the video is showing me.
That's just so I don't take up time.
It's
How
how
much
much
we-
how much we dig into, like, the details, like how much.
Off-street parking, I thought about David, I thought about Lafayette, and I looked down the streets and I say this is medium, dying for off-street. Yeah, time to be freeway.
All right. We're gonna call the meeting to order. Let's do roll call.
Warren,
Brenda Guest, Mary Gardner.
Freilinger here.
get more here.
All right. Clipboard. I think Robert, you're the only one on the present. I would say. Sure. Yeah, that's usually the way it is. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and planning commissioners. My name is Robert Davis. I represent the Yamhill Neighborhood Association, and I have a packet here that I'd like to read. The Yamhill Neighborhood Association would like to briefly bring to your attention several recent Oregon housing laws and significant change. How cities review residential development. These changes are already affecting communities such as McMinnville and will likely impact future housing proposals here in Yamhill. As our planning commission is currently reviewing and updating portions of the city's development and building codes, this is an appropriate time to ensure those revisions align with state new requirements. What has changed? SB 15737 in 2024 allows mandatory adjustments for qualifying housing development, reducing local authority over parking, setbacks, building height, open space, and many design standards. SB 974, initiated in 2025, limits local review procedures, shortens review timelines, and exempt many larger housing developments from portions of their local design review. HB 4037, initiated in 2026, reduces public notice requirements in many circumstances, limits appeals to the applicant rather than the public or neighboring properties. Why this matters to Yamhill and Carlton? These laws substantially change the role of government, local governments. McMinnville has acknowledged the staff has struggled to keep pace with the volume of new legislation and has obtained grant funding to update its department development code with legislative legal assistance. As Yamhill Planning Commission continues to revise the city's development and building codes, this is an opportunity to ensure those revisions reflect current state law while preserving every area of local authority still permitted. The Planning Commission role serves as the city's first line of defense in adapting these legislative changes. Review the city's development code in light of SB 1537, SB 974, and HB 4037. Work closely with the city attorney, planning consultants to identify which local standards remain enforceable. Recommended code amendments that maintain Yamhill's community character while complying with state law. Provide the city council with clear and recommendations before future housing developments are submitted. Our council recommendations, as these code revisions move through the planning commission, we encourage the council to receive periodic progress reports from the governing body, remains informed as to how the state legislation is changing. Local decision-making authorities, this will help ensure the council is prepared to make informed policy decisions before significant development applications are received. Thank you for your continued leadership and service to our community. All right, so straight into new business. The first thing on the list is temporary structures memo. Walt, can you speak to that?
Okay. Is there an echo?
You're echoing, yeah, we're hearing an echo.
Are we echoing to you?
Yeah, there was a little bit. I tell you what, let me get out of the program and come back in. Okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to hear him echo through the whole thing.
Do we need to get a copy of those changes for our records? Or do you have?
Need the bills?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
What he was reporting on.
I think, yeah, that'll be something we should bring up with Walt.
Okay.
Now, the ones in 2025, when we sat around a U-shaped table here and there are people from the state, and that's when we learned that we just got pulled dead hands with a lot of that, what he talked about. Now, evidently there's new stuff.
Yep.
I imagine we need to ask Walt, but that's his job, right? Is to keep us in the boundaries. So,
Okay,
Carol, I don't know
how's
if we have
that?
to, you have to find that ordinance and understanding,
So,
but
and I
you could
could
be aware.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to repeat yourself, Walt. Can you say something again?
How's that?
yeah, it's better.
Okay, yes, thank you. It is better. I thought we used to do that in the 60s with our music, but that's kind of irritating right now. Okay, okay, first item on our agenda is temporary structures. And this is something that the Planning Commission looked at last month. And we also received, or maybe a month ago, May, and the city council, mayor's city council has given the go-ahead to make whatever changes we find necessary. In the report, you will find two exhibits. A is the current language, and B is what I'm proposing for discussion. Currently, we have provisions that allow the use of mobile home, prefabricated dwelling unit, etc., to be located on a lot on a temporary basis. They need to connect to city services, comply with setbacks. There are a few other issues here, requirements. The downside, though, is that they do not have to make any of the improvements you would normally find with a single family dwelling. Things like curbing, sidewalks, street trees, drainage improvements, those sort of things, and even contributing to the system development charge. That's not a particular requirement for a temporary home. It costs a lot of money to locate these homes, and I'm not thinking there's any particular advantage. In fact, there probably is a disadvantage in that these homes, if they're constantly renewed, can effectively become permanent structures without meeting all the requirements that everyone else has to meet. I think on this, one item to consider too is that we've changed some of the regulations on accessory dwelling units, which is again part of state law changes in housing. And what has occurred with that is that you can convert a portion of your existing dwelling, or you can go ahead and actually have a secondary dwelling on the property of certain size. So I'm thinking this might be a more suitable alternative to allow and sort of extra housing, if you will, than simply temporarily placing something on the property. The second item is the use of RVs as guest quarters or temporary residences. Guest quarters, it's the typical, like, you know, the family from Arizona coming up to visit, they want to park their RV. There are no issues with that, but the way the language is written is that the city really doesn't do anything until after 30 days. So the way it is that someone could be there for like 6 weeks or so if someone informs the city hall about the trailer or RV, at that juncture, they have to come in and get a permit, which is only good for 30 days. So I'm suggesting that maybe instead of working with this after the fact, the city may simply want to consider requiring a permit up front with some options for renewals. The other item for a temporary RV is for the construction of a single family home. And this, quite frankly, makes quite a lot of sense. The way the rules are written right now, as long as they connect to city services and are making suitable progress toward construction, completing construction, you're fine. My only suggestion is that instead of simply, in fact, the way it's written is that they have to go in front of the council every month to get approval. I'm thinking we can handle this on a type 1 land use application and review. Make sure they follow the rules and regulations, and we can grant extensions as we see fit. So with that, for a summary, I'm suggesting we do some changes to the temporary housing issue. One, eliminate all the provisions for temporary dwellings. I think this leads us down a slippery slope that we get into enforcement issues. The second thing would require a permit for the temporary use of RV as guest quarters. I just think that makes sense to do it up front as opposed to an enforcement action after the fact. And finally, my suggestion is that we go ahead and have what's called a type 1 review, which is totally administrative. Between the only applicant would be the property owner, and they are the only ones who would receive notice to go ahead and place the temporary RV on the property, make sure they make the connections, they have a viable building permit, and the construction proceeds. So as I said, Exhibit B includes all the information in terms of what I'm suggesting for the language changes. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you folks may have.
Well, let's go down the line. Grant, do you have any questions?
No.
No. It's like, yeah, you gotta keep some control on this, so.
So what he's proposing is taking all the provisions just off the table. I mean, for the RV and the, it doesn't make sense if you're gonna put in a mobile home, you know, on a temporary basis. You know, they have all those rules going with it, you know, because who's gonna hook a regular mobile home up on a temporary basis? The city services and stuff. Has that happened in town before? It has, okay. And has it created a problem? It has, okay. So so by you just taking all those provisions away, it's gonna make it easier for staff to just do it on a one-on-one basis, them coming and getting a permit. They're building a house and they want to put an RV on and stay in the RV while they're building a home or repairing a home that's burned down or something like that. They need a permit. To put.
Yeah, my whole thought here was just to, keep things in-house instead of going after the fact with enforcement.
Yeah.
That always gets
That makes
expensive.
sense.
And at least we could show the folks, here's the rules that you're required to follow. So there's no questions. Well, I didn't know that. No one told me. So by doing it that way, and I'm not even suggesting that the permit be onerous in terms of dollars and cents. Just fill out some paperwork so we know where the RV is staying and grant them maybe an extra 30 days. And the one with the building, constructing a home or making repairs, in fact, that's a good point on repairs. I think it just makes sense to allow that option as long as they hook up to city services and they're making progress to getting the work done. I think that's a fair way to go.
Yeah. Who checks on the progress? I'm just curious. Do we have a builder, a building person in
The
town?
city.
The city?
Yes. We contract with Yamhill County for building services. And as long as the official or building inspector notes that they're making progress, they have to sign off after everything. And again, you can put a time limit. Generally, as long as you keep your permit active, 180 days is not an issue. So I'm just thinking, I hate enforcement after the fact. I'd rather just make sure folks are up front.
It's just like getting a building permit if you're gonna put an addition on your house or something, you have to get a building.
Well,
permit.
and by doing it up front, it allows us to define this, these are the rules
Yeah,
around it.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so there's no
Everybody knows what's
misunderstanding,
happening
yeah.
up front. You got everything's laid out.
That makes sense.
One other thing too is that if you read the current regs, the city council is involved in these, and I'm going, I think they have more important things to do than look at someone asking for another 30 days to work on their home. Just my thought.
All right, Mary, did you have anything?
No, I'm listening to that and it makes sense.
Well, I have some questions. So, one of my questions is, there are rules around ADUs at the state level.
Yeah.
How does that fit into this scenario? Where does that, how is that covered?
Well, actually, it's kind of interesting because I think one of the reasons we have things for like temporary dwelling on a piece of property and guest situations is that we don't have any other alternatives. The city adopted ADU standards. So if you're going to have a lot of relatives visit or just have for rental purposes, you could put up an ADU and you could rent that out as you see fit. So that option is there. Also, I think all too often we see ADUs as the sort of little cottage in the backyard. You can reconfigure part of your existing house for an ADU. So this still provides, I think, some opportunities for additional dwelling space, if you will, that can be used on a permanent or temporary basis.
My other question is, some RV unit, things that are, there's a gray area between the definition of mobile home and RV.
Mm-hmm.
The park RVs look like mini mobile homes.
Correct.
And so if a park RV gets placed, it would fall under the temporary rules or the guest services or guests.
Right. It's as long as it's not a mobile home. So, if you're trailering the unit, it's a RV. It may look kind of elaborate, and I've seen some amazing RVs, trailers that are bigger than some homes. But the other thing too is that for example, on construction, if you have just a temporary home there, I think the park model works out well. What happens is the park model becomes kind of permanent over time. Yes. And that's why, again, having the regulations noted up front with the requirements, and we can follow through that way instead of coming in after the fact. Because if someone kind of puts the mobile home or the RV or the park unit on the property and no one says anything, 5, 6, 7 months down the road, it's still there. And that's really contrary to what we're trying to do.
So, process question here. We have a person in the audience to have a discussion. Isn't this meant to be a panel discussion, or are we allowed to open it up to the floor?
Well, this is a work session. You're welcome to take whatever, and thank you for raising that point. You're welcome to take comments in as you see fit. You're not making any decisions tonight to adopt anything. And again, thank you.
Question, then we can.
Yeah.
So the other question I have, can you refresh our memory on the ADU? What defines the ADU?
An ADU is a separate dwelling unit located on the same property as the primary dwelling. The ADU is separately connected to its own sewer and water service. They have a square footage limitation. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but they have, so many square feet. I think they made the provision that you're not required to have a second parking space, but this is really a separate unit with bathroom facilities and kitchen facilities. Think of it as a standalone studio apartment.
Somebody from the forum said 8 square feet, which sounds familiar to me from when we discussed it before.
And that kind of rings a bell too, but they're always secondary to the primary dwelling.
Okay.
Do I understand that we're defining a park model as a mobile?
No,
Okay,
absolutely
just
not.
making
And
clarification.
no, a park model is exactly that. It's an RV.
Exactly.
So
Right.
can the park model be defined as an ADU in any way?
No, that's another good question. That is not an ADU. It has to meet structural requirements, all the insulation requirements, electrical safety, et cetera, et cetera. Those are not dwellings.
Okay. You,
Chuck,
Chuck, sorry, your name slipped my mind.
Chuck Mitchell, 760
Yeah.
Second
I
Street.
kept hearing Mitchell in my head. It's like,
Yeah.
First name.
So when it comes to, like camp trailers or RVs, I think that needs to be defined specifically in the code as a camp trailer. Camp trailers are something that's pulled, hooked up to a truck that is pulled to different sites. I think that might help with the code controversy that you're versus a mobile home or a park model. Park models are typically single wide manufactured homes that can be pulled in. Or
The reason I asked the question is, when you look at it online, it's referred to as a park RV. That's what they call it.
yeah, well,
Park RV,
That's why I'm asking.
typically it's a camp trailer.
Okay.
Camp trailer.
So,
usually park models are designed to be put on a lot in almost
so that's why I asked,
just temporary.
and that's why I asked the question about,
But it can't, it's not considered an ADU.
Right.
In that town.
okay,
Understand if someone's building a house or making major repairs after a fire or something like that, that would be perfectly acceptable as a temporary shelter. No different than having parking your Winnebago on the property. It's just temporary shelter. When the repairs are done, the house is built, whatever works out, then it has to be removed.
and I'm just clarifying to understand, because there are situations where we've had those park units look pretty permanent.
Question. So directed at Walt, if I have a RV, fifth wheel, camp trailer, whatever you want to call it, and I'm living in that while I'm building my house, but it's also my camp trailer at the same time. Once I finish my house, he's asking me to remove that. But I have space on the side of my house to store my camp trailer slash RV slash. Can I keep it there on that site next to my house?
there's a whole nother.
That is correct. That is correct. I'm just thinking in terms of, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, you definitely can do it as long as you comply with regulations in terms of storage on your property. And that's really the key right there. But yeah, once you're done, put it behind the fence or whatever, and you're good to go.
And if I
Yeah.
understand it correctly, Walt,
Good-
the
good point.
code currently exists for RVs in the city of Yamhill to not be parked in the front, in the driveway, on the side of the house. An RV can only be parked in the back of the dwelling. Is that still the code?
No.
Yes, that is my recollection. I haven't seen that part of the code for a little while, but that is my recollection of the requirements. I know
And I-
about
and I-
3 or 4 years ago, we looked at that.
So there's some confusion, I think, because people do park them on the side of their house where they're visible from the street.
It's
Technically,
difficult to get them in the backyard.
right, absolutely. So technically, I think.
Behind fences, yeah.
Technically in the code, that's not allowed. I think we've all kind of, I think as a city as a whole, we've kind of overlooked if people have an area where they parked it. I mean, I have people in my neighborhood that,
Mhm.
Because, I mean, I personally have a small RV and I have no access to my backyard. I mean, there's no way for me to get it into my backyard. There's just no access. So it is on the side of my house, but on the
so-
back side, in its own designated.
I have a little
spot.
teardrop that I park during the summer months. It parks in the driveway because we use it. In the winter, it goes in the garage.
No, Go ahead.
I do believe it's the street side yard. So if it's on a corner lot, it's the street side.
Right.
So it can be, in my case, it could be on my side yard. Because
Street side.
Street side is,
I've got almost an
No,
acre
no.
of land, but I can't get access my backyard. Just curious.
So clarification, so is it allowed on the street side? Or
no.
It's
not
allowed.
allowed.
It's not
Okay.
allowed on the street side.
However, I think you made a point that I think most people store it someplace over the winter, but they bring the unit in, park it on their driveway, and go out camping, for a few months, and then they usually store it someplace else. So I don't think the city has any interest in forcing everyone to, take their RV back to the storage yard. I don't think that's the point. I think it's just a matter of where it is. If someone is storing them permanently on the property, that's really where the location becomes a factor.
Chuck?
This clarification, I owned a house on Second Street. And I had 15, 16 feet and I stored my camp trailer next to my house on a gravel, on my own property. So I just want to clarify, we're talking about if you store a camp trailer, correct? On your property, that's okay, but if you keep it in the right of way, public right of way, then there's an issue.
So technically, even in your own property, if it's on the street side of your house. on your
Right.
Property, that's not okay,
Or in your driveway.
or in your driveway. That technically, that's the rule. I don't think it gets
We don't,
enforced, it doesn't really get enforced.
So corner lots, basically what you're talking about, only corner lots.
So I'm on a corner lot.
Okay,
I have one side where I have a gravel area
Right.
between my neighbor and I
right,
could park it there.
sure.
On this other side, where the side of my property is the street, I can't.
Okay, that then needs to be disclosed at the sale of the house through the title company to disclose the information versus city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most people probably aren't aware of it.
Right. That needs to be disclosed at the sale of the house. That you're not allowed to park something on the street side versus the non-street.
I guess
side.
I would. I don't think that's and Walt, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not our purview to do that. I think it's up to the real
But you're
estate.
enforcing it though.
Right,
But
but
if you're gonna enforce it,
every
you
time
let the
a
title
house,
company know.
but every time a house sells, we don't get.
Exactly. It's like if someone wants to come down to City Hall and ask the question or go on the website and look at the rules, they're welcome to do so. But the city simply does not have the capacity to, every time there's a house sale, here's the rules and regs.
And that's why you need a good realtor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That,
so that needs to be
that's-
close, still, the house in a corner lot, you can park something on one side, but you can't park it on the other. And just clarification, when we passed the rules for ADUs, it was 800 square feet.
Okay, that sounds familiar when you said
Yeah.
that, so.
yeah, I think so.
Okay. So. The next, I don't have the schedule.
Okay.
When does this come up again? We have a little Walt's schedule. I like Walt's schedule. So we're talking about having a public hearing on this in September. So we're not making a decision on this, right? Well, at this point.
Correct. I would come back with, the language, all the findings, et cetera. And I also have to notify DLCD. That's why I kicked it out to September, because I have to notify the state on this change. I don't anticipate there's going to be any concern on a state level. This is kind of a local decision. So yeah, I'm looking at September for
Okay,
this. And I will return, and obviously there will be a staff report and they'll be available to the public.
so moving forward with the public hearing, does anybody have any concerns with what Walt's proposing that we need to change?
No.
I have a question. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, we never got to you because.
No.
I am sorry. Ken, what questions do you have? Sorry.
So I thought, well, that the point of the 180 days, maybe it should be maybe pinned down a little bit more on your proposed draft, section B, satisfactory progress, in the opinion of the building official. In the opinion of the building, now the building official would have to act from something. If he's gonna start issuing notices, he would have to act from something more than the opinion, or how does that work?
Well, basically you get a building permit and that permit is valid for 180 days. And so, as long as we're making progress, and as I said, they had to sign off. So you get the framing up, they sign that off, you get the sheetrock up or the exterior panels up, they sign off on that, the electrics, the plumbing, etc. And they sign off on that. And that means it's making good progress. But if you don't do anything within 180 days, the building permit lapses and they have to reapply with a new fee.
So would it be good to say as long as the building permit stays in force? Or
I
is
think
valid?
that would be a way of
Valid?
doing it. And again, my approach to this was just kind of lay out some options to work on. I think, in fact, let me make that note. I think that's a very good way of looking at it. Make note here, okay. So as long as it's current with the building permit,
Just a point of information, sometimes people do ask for extensions on that through the city.
Right, and that would be within.
That would be a valid
extension.
reason.
Yeah, okay, now your building permit's down, well, then your RV's gotta go, unless you re-up it. Another question,
Building delays or something, and if they get your building permit extended, then
Yeah.
you could extend your.
yeah, it's reasonable, they're reasonable.
That's reasonable.
I have another question. This whole thing is about temporary structures and, tell me where a temporary pole barn would come in. I think of structure, I think of more hammered together wood and metal roof or something. There's no such thing as the temporary structure that I'm talking about. Is that right?
no, there is absolutely no provision in the code on temporary structures. This whole section had to do with dwellings, but the title of the section was like structures. So I think that's a good point. I think maybe change the wording around. We don't have regulations for temporary structures. In fact, if you're putting up a structure that's over 100 square feet, I think, and 10 feet in height, you need a building permit, and that's not going to make it temporary unless you want to move it around on skids or something. But yeah,
Temporary housing instead of structures.
So maybe temporary Temporary dwellings for,
That's, yes, I think, as I said, I think it's worth to change the title for temporary dwellings.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
John, I have a comment.
Yeah.
So why don't you think about tying the permit of the recreational vehicles, the guest quarter, to the occupancy permit of the home and give it a 30-day after occupancy removal?
So after the home gets occupied,
After the home is granted an occupancy permit, 30 days.
Oh, actually, I like that. And not only that, either give them the option, either it's removed from the property or properly stored on the property.
Yes, that would be correct too.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, I like that.
Can you clarify that? Can you clarify that a little bit more?
Basically, it would be when the, once in construction, once the house takes is open for occupancy.
Right.
It's
Passes off
finalized,
the
the
final.
inspection is finalized, they'll have 30 days to either remove the RV that they've been using as a dwelling,
Right.
or convert it to relocate it as a storage,
Right,
whatever the storage solution is. It could be on their property potentially.
right.
It's no longer.
So it could potentially stay on their property because
Yes.
it's their camp trailer.
Yeah,
Right. You're staying in your own camp trailer.
yeah.
So they don't really need to move it after 30 days.
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily.
Well, it needs to be in the proper location for storing
Right.
it on your property.
On the side without the street side.
Yes.
Okay,
Or in the back or whatever.
on the side.
Yeah, if somebody has room in the back, they might have an alley back there. They can park it back there too.
No, you're not allowed to park stuff in the alley. Trust me.
In your backyard?
No, you're not allowed to
Oh,
park stuff in the alley.
I'm not talking the alley.
Because
I
you'll get a
mean,
ticket.
I'm saying is you can access your backyard from the alley and be able to put.
There's only a couple alleys in this entire.
Well, I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
I'm
other
I'm
options.
just trying to clarify that if I have to rebuild my house and I'm living in my camp trailer on the side of the house that's not the street side. And finally I finish my house, I can leave my camp trailer there. I don't have to move it.
Correct.
After 30 days.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
That's true. I think there's some pretty tight stuff.
It's still like camp.
Side of your
But-
house with an RV.
As long,
I'm
as
trying
long,
to find it.
yeah, as long as you follow the rules for storage of our
There might be
recreational
some
vehicle.
setbacks. I'm not sure you can put it right up against the fence.
It's an RV.
You can't, I don't think you can put it against the fence. I'm just trying to find it, but I don't think,
What's up against the fence? 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot?
might be a 5-foot setback, right?
So, Walt, can you answer that?
Yeah.
Actually, no, I'd like to look into that a little bit more. I want to familiarize myself, again with the storage requirement, and that may go ahead. In fact, I'm going to put that in the report for the September meeting, so we can maybe get some discussion on that. And also that may impact how I write the final language for this. So, yeah, give me time to kind of work through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Because it could be a motor home that drives.
It's pretty mean.
Or a camp trailer that I can hook up to and pull away.
Okay, well, we'll find out.
Okay.
Walt will look at this code.
There's setbacks and it's gonna be tough to get just keep those setbacks and have an RV on a piece of property.
Yes.
Okay,
I can't find them.
all right. Well, we're going a little afield of temporary structures. So let's, we'll come back to this and have it reported on from Walt.
September.
September, there's a public hearing.
So the next agenda item is the downtown design code memo. Oh, sorry. Walt, can you speak to that?
Uh,
I know you got an awful lot of info there.
Yes, I have an awful lot, and in fact, looking at it for like the second time tonight, I wonder what we're gonna accomplish with this. and I'm hoping that we can get a little direction for the next one. There's a lot of data here. I want to let you know that I did look at Carlton's material. It was like over 20 pages, but I did not include Carlton in the matrix because everyone said we don't want to look like Carlton. So I want to make sure you know I did keep that out. So again, just like the other item, we have the go ahead from the council and the mayor to look at the issue of downtown design. It was brought up at the May meeting, and boy, the regulations go all over the place depending where you're at. I selected 6 cities in the Willamette Valley that basically resource-related agricultural farm communities that were, we're on the smaller end of that, but still, this is not McMinnville we're looking at. And I put a matrix together that looked at some general characteristics. Please understand this is not a detailed matrix. There's a lot of little nuances in this. I gave an example that benches on the front of the building are allowed by some, but the city of Amity requires the bench to meet a certain theme, a design theme. So again, there's nuances, but I was looking at the general themes in terms of how the various cities approach downtown design. The matrix is on the second page, and there's all the information with the key. And as you can see, some of the stuff really kind of pops out. And what I'd like to do is just kind of review sort of the summary of the matrix. When it comes to architectural guidelines, with the exception of Lawnsville, there was some level of design consistency required. Amity even developed a town center plan back in 1999, and they went ahead and that guides what design looks like. Second item, entrance orientation to the street. Universally, as part of the design, the entrance has to be off the street, and that's pretty straightforward. Building materials, brick, stone, and wood are generally favored. There are some communities that prohibit things like T111 siding and corrugated metal for finishes. Window treatments. Windows are a real important feature in design. Everyone required windows to be facing the street. In some cases, there was a percentage of the facade must be windows, like 15, 20, 30%. And also there were other design requirements, for example, recessed windows, sills, certain trim on the windows. Awnings were kind of interesting. Some of them were required for the entrance. In fact, Donald required 60% of the building frontage to have an awning. So it's like there was a wide range of thinking on this one. Color is always fascinating. That establishes, I think, a lot of characteristics. Color preferences were basically earth tones or muted colors. Some places actually had a color chart based on certain manufacturer to use. Any covering like an awning was usually required. Oh, you see, color, Dayton and Lafayette had color charts. Those two had color charts. Harrisburg simply required the colors to sort of match what's there. And I'm not sure, that was a little too subjective in my mind. Bright or primary colors were usually limited, either prohibited or limited to things like window trim, just kind of muted, if you will, in the big color scheme. All the equipment universally had to be screened, whether it's on the roof or on the ground. Donald required that buildings along the street, provide 2% of the land area as public space where you can put a bench or tables or, public art. And that was a option. Not everyone, only see, wrong. Lawrenceville and Lafayette required off-street parking, but the other cities did not require off-street parking in the area that have the downtown design requirements. But if it was installed, it had to meet, access width and parking space requirements, et cetera. Except for, again, Lawrenceville and Lafayette, drive-ins, drive-throughs were prohibited. Now, most of these regulations could be done administratively, but there was always options for variances and the planning commission to hear those modifications. Going through this, it was definitely evident that there's a lot of options out there. But I think there were some general guidelines, if you will, but I think it circles back to what the planning commission here is looking for. So I put some issues for your consideration on page 4. And one is the location of the district. We have one on Maple Street. Do you want to maintain it? Do you want to expand it? Do you want to contract it? That might be a thought. Off-street parking, it's currently required in the city. Should that be continued? Parking uses space that can be used for commercial development. It's just not there for use except for a car. Standards, how flexible or unflexible do you want the standards to be? Clear and objective, or some mechanisms for review? Again, some communities have a process to permit modification through commission reviews. Now, when it comes to design approach, there seem to be two methods. One said, this is the way it's going to look. And that is specify exactly what you want. The other approach is to specify particularly what you don't want. I know when Kaiser was going through their urban renewal, instead of saying you have to do these things, it's like, you can't use this color scheme, you can't do this, the building has to have a certain facade, et cetera, at a minimum, but they didn't do a strict design criteria. And again, I think both options, either option, I think there should be some flexibility through a variance process. Question is, are there uses you want to restrict within a downtown design area? And this kind of goes toward the city's current regulations. What do you like about them or don't like about them? And what do you want to really see for the change here? And I guess the way I look at it too is like sometimes when you keep things so strict, and Carol and I are from New England, and when everything looks like a colonial house, you miss opportunities to do other things. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Where do you want to go 20 years from now? Looking at the schedule, I think I've been a little too optimistic in moving forward. There's really a lot to unwind here, or unravel or unpack. And I'm thinking, is there any particular direction the planning commission would like to go? I could always draft something up, but how far do you want to do the design requirements, or what do you want to see removed or changed with our current regulations? Is there just like a sense of the commission what would work? Or did you find a city here that you looked at and said, man, I wish we had those rules? So with that, I'm here taking notes.
So, I'll start my thoughts. So I did see some of the towns that I felt like there was things in there that, oh, I like that, or I don't like that. There was a lot of, I could easily identify, and of course, as I told somebody early before the meeting, I have a notebook that I've been taking notes on all this in, and I left it at my office, so I don't have my notebook with me. But there were definitely some cities that, the other thing this would take much more time, like as Walt would say, I think this is an optimistic schedule if we do it this way, but if we go through each one of these rows on this matrix and say, we're gonna have a discussion, or maybe, I don't know, take 2 or 3 rows in the meeting and focus on what it is that we'd like to do in that row. Or maybe there's some of these that we can eliminate or quickly answer and then focus on the ones that are more questioned.
Should we have public input on this? I mean.
Well, that's where.
another- Yeah.
So looking at the Walt's schedule, there's 2 draft meetings and 1 public hearing, and I guess this is one of those areas, my thought is 1 public hearing might be enough if we don't get a lot of people's input, if nobody, says much. But I also feel like it could be that lots of people have opinions and
Yeah.
we'd want to be able to hear what people think.
I almost think rather than having a specific meeting on this, if we could get together for just a work session where we could just talk about what we see, and have our own questions to put out to the public, I mean, do you want to see a McDonald's in downtown Yamhill? I mean,
Yeah.
do you want
A survey instrument.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, there's 2 approaches, and I think that we can go. We could come through and say, using these cities.
yeah,
And say, these are the items we're interested in, draft something and then get public input from that.
we
And
do
then-
have a downtown association that has been working on what, what they think it should look like in so they've already done some work on that. It seems to me like we have to involve the citizens
Yeah.
in this process. But, I mean, we all have opinions.
All right, so Carol and I spoke up. What do you guys think? What's your thoughts?
I think a subgroup of us, somehow interested people, ought to see the matrix. Ought to be able to see that part about, what other cities are doing and generate back to us feedback about this is something that I think is a good idea for Yamhill. This seems like a waste of time. I don't know how that could be configured, but I think a small subgroup looking at the same document and getting back to us with, oh, I talked to 3 neighbors and whatever.
And I think Carol mentioned the downtown association might be a good
Yeah, because
place to do that.
yeah, I don't know, I mean, to involve more than just us, and we're not gonna be the deciding factor.
No, we need more input.
Yeah,
Ken, you have any thoughts?
Yeah,
It's-
yeah,
it
we're
is-
all thinking more heads in on this. I was thinking of. I guess the other cities are a result of some sort of process. We don't know how professional or ad hoc it was.
Mhm.
The ideal would be, we get somebody really experienced with helping small towns do what we want to do, and they get paid money, there's a grant, a consultant, and that sort of thing, and then we get to look at, these people are educated, they're experienced, we are not. We can try to come up to a certain level, and that's admirable, but still, I just think we need some people that have been bigger than just
Experience.
us and the downtown association. I think it has to be a bigger view of professional planners.
and we just looking at the downtown as this main street, or we're looking beyond that, where the
So
cabin is and where other businesses can be.
we have a downtown zone defined, an overlay
Mm-hmm.
that defines certain streets.
That was one of the questions here, is what
Do we want to
will it
expand
be?
it? or-
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big
That's a
question.
big question.
Yeah,
So we have one defined already.
Yeah.
But the question is, do we want to change it?
yeah.
And
Could I offer something here? I was afraid that we were going in this direction because there's so much out there. I mean, there is just so much out there. And again, the more I looked at it, the more I just kept scratching my head. Where do you start? What sort of kernel do you start to build upon? Um, can we sort of table this because we're not in a rush to do it, but let me go ahead and you're talking about a professional planner. Um, I am one, but I'm not a designer. And I think what you're looking at is someone who has design experience in downtowns to go ahead and look at this. Let me see what I could stir up maybe in the interim. And we could kind of put this on the back burner a bit, and I could come back with the next meeting with some information. The other thing too is that I think the idea of getting folks from the downtown group on board would be very helpful. I just caution commission members, if three of you are together, it's a public meeting. So you've got to be very cognizant of that. So if a couple of you are going to bring some folks in, and let me look at grants that are out there. There's
I was gonna say, there must be grants.
there is a TGM grant out there. Ooh, no, not TGM. There is a technical assistant grant that maybe we can kind of garner some money. This is really critical for the community. And I think it's really important that, I was assigned the task to go ahead and looking at some of the details. And, after a while, boy, look at Carlton's, man, your head will spin with the restrictions they have in subsections and this color, but not that color, and this design, but not that design. And I think it may behoove us to go ahead and see if we can get some professional design assistance on this. And I guess I'm requesting that maybe let's see what I can find and maybe get back together next month. Would that work? And then if you folks are talking to the downtown people, kind of bring them in as well. So what's your thought?
I've got a middle ground that Sean and Mary get together with whatever downtown people you want. And maybe pick what you really don't want.
Ah.
And what you really do want. Don't go dive into everything. What's on their mind? They're looking around, they've got plans. They have strong opinions about this or that, and just approach it from the tweaks. Because that was the other option he gave us, was just want to tweak this. And I think maybe that's where you guys could make some progress and be ready for that consultant or whatever, and say, look, this is kind of some basic, we want this building block, now you make the whole town. A plan for the whole town.
Ultimately, this will require buy-in from the community. And it's not just an exercise in whether or not you can have an RV on your property while you're building your house. This is a little more critical for the community. And I kind of like that idea too. I think kind of return in August and see what we come up with.
Yeah, I think there are some key things from the other cities and stuff that I think if we were to sit down, we want, key items that tweaks that we could do specifically, but. Angie?
I would just, to let you know, the Economic Development Committee is I think who you guys are speaking of, and they are the ones that, I think this whole process started when they passed along information. They had already gone through this and gave you guys their suggestions
Yeah, they did.
for downtown design.
Yeah.
They did.
So.
Did they have?
Yeah, so where is that?
Do they have?
I could.
Yeah, could you resend that out?
Yes.
Because I could maybe find it, but if you could send it
You'll,
out to us.
you'll email it to us. Is it emailable?
Yeah, I think it's in the packet like 2
Okay.
meetings ago. But
Okay.
it's
I was
probably
thinking it
on
was
the website.
longer ago.
Yeah, I might not have my packet from 2 months ago. But
So,
I think that's a great idea to just put it aside, but not out of our thoughts. I mean,
so the only thing I just don't want to lose sight of it because there's been a lot, it's been a year of
yeah,
people raising that we need to do this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to postpone it too much. I want to keep it moving. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think a year ago is when we started talking about doing this, so.
Well, some things that's true.
Anybody else have comments before I call in?
No, I want to read through the whole thing, look at things, make notes and
It's actually
just,
really.
this is my busiest time of year and I'm working 7 days a week. So I go,
Well, this was my lunch hours.
yeah, so I don't take a lunch.
So just a recommendation. 11 years ago, we hashed this out right where you're sitting. The exact same thing, what we wanted our town to look like architecturally. My recommendation is when builders build new houses, they have storyboards. Does everybody know what a storyboard is? Tile, carpet, flooring on a board. There might be 3 boards and you get to pick out which one you want. I'm gonna go with storyboard number 3, and that's what you're gonna get on the inside of your house, right? That carpet, that tile, that hardwood floor. I would recommend hiring an architect to come up with 5 different storyboards.
Downtown storyboards.
Downtown storyboards, board and bat, brick, horizontal lap siding. So different siding styles, and let the architect come up with the trim width, whether it's 3.5 or 6 inch, whether it's awnings or no awnings. And then they'll come up with the storyboards, a color palette for each storyboard. And then when somebody wants to build a building, they get to choose one of those 3, 4, 5.
I also think part of the discussion is how much detail do we want to get into? Do we
Well,
want? do
you
we-
let the architects figure that out, and the architect, their goal is to come out, assess your town, look at the style of buildings that are around. And then from that, they'll pick a period of time from 1890 to 1920, that period of time.
Yeah,
And then they'll fit everything that was built during that time into their storyboard. That's their job, not your job, it's their job. That's what you pay them for.
Well, I saw that Harrisburg had they wanted the 1800 to 1900 riverfront
Right.
theme. And obviously, we're not riverfront, but the idea of picking a time frame like that sounded good too.
Yeah.
So it's along those lines. Walt, what you're proposing would be looking into some ways that we might be able to get some resources in to do that. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And is the Economic Commission, you're on the Economic Commission, aren't you? What, Robert, you're not?
Oh, no, I resigned.
Oh. So who's who's the chair of that?
Jenny Morrison, and I
Oh,
can
Jenny,
reach out to
Jenny,
her if you
okay.
would like. What would you like me?
So I guess I would be interested in having their input on some of these other city ordinances, city codes and stuff, and get their thoughts. And I don't know what the right.
Give her one of these packets to see what,
I
yeah,
can forward her
Yeah.
bulk memo and,
Yeah.
and have her.
have her take a look at what we're looking at.
Would it be helpful to have 1 or 2 people from the commission come and be a part of that meeting or not? Are they meeting regularly or not?
The Economic Development Committee, yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know if that would be helpful.
okay.
When is that meeting?
It is on the first
First
Tuesday
Tuesday?
of every month at 3:00 in the afternoon.
First Tuesday.
I believe it's the first Tuesday.
It is.
I think we should give them time to read
Yeah, I agree.
the packet before we go to that.
Where do they meet? Where,
Right here,
oh, they do.
yes.
I'm available during the day. I mean, I would volunteer to be available to sit in on one of the meetings and,
That would be helpful.
okay.
But I also agree, Mary, we should give them a chance to look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because they obviously have done some work the other way that
Right.
we haven't seen,
Well, we have, but it's been
but
months.
it's been a while. Yeah.
Ken?
When we're done with this topic, I wanted to go back to the other one just for a second, with Walt.
Okay.
All right. So I think we have a plan to move forward. Okay,
I concur.
all right. Ken had something to add regarding temporary structures again.
Well, you said you were gonna do some homework on the code for side yards and RVs.
Correct.
I found an ordinance, it's 70.72 .040. And it says accessory side yards, interior. Accessory structures not attached to the main building located in an interior side yard shall be set back at least 5 feet from any lot line. Now, there's this problem with the structures again. Does that
It's not an
accessory
RV.
structure mean an RV like it did in this piece of paper?
Yeah.
Or does it mean something made out of wood?
And yeah, it's like, I have a garden shed that's right up against the fence, but it's, 50 square feet. So it's not,
City will be there tomorrow.
it's plastic and temporary, I can move it.
Temporary.
Yeah, well, a lot smaller than they used to be.
There's no such thing. So I'm there's a lot of RVs up next to fences and they're 5 feet. So you'll be back with the word from next time, okay.
Whether or not RVs fit into that or not.
Right.
Thank you for your confidence there.
Are we gonna talk?
Who else do we go to?
Okay, he's available too.
Okay. So next thing on the agenda is talking about our next meeting. There are a number of people who are actually gone in August on the 17th.
Ooh.
And so I know Mary and I briefly discussed, I'm not sure if it works for everybody, but if we pushed it to right now we're the third Monday. So
Which is
we
what
make
day?
it the 17th, August 17th.
August 17th. That's good for me. And
So could we bump it to the 4th? The 4th Monday. So could we bump it to the 24th?
The later.
the 24th.
Doesn't work for you?
Yeah, no, that's fine, but, I'll be up in Washington.
I'm trying to get the most of us here.
Yeah, I know,
You
yeah,
can join us on Zoom. Did you say you'd be in Washington?
yeah, yes, I'll be up at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, seeing my sister, it's her birthday, so,
Oh, well, it might not be a good time.
yes, yeah, I won't be.
Does the
Not-
24th work?
Yep.
Yes.
24th works for me,
Yeah.
August 24th.
Okay, so we would like to move the meeting for next month to August 24th if we could.
How does that work for
Does that
all?
work for you, Angie? Or
No problem for me.
Okay.
I'm good.
Because that's a public hearing, right? That's when we're gonna have a public hearing.
on the master parks plan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
Yeah,
have we received the latest version of that? I don't think we have.
oops, well, we're right.
I,
Oh, there he is, he shrunk.
And Angie's playing with us on
All
technology.
of a sudden, oh, really, where'd it go? Yeah, because I'm gonna be going also.
Thank you for volunteering for the economic committee. I'd have to take time off work.
Yeah, no, I mean, 3:00 is okay for me and, I'll, obviously the first Tuesday is past this month.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the first Tuesday next month. 4:56.
Okay, and Walt, you said you were available.
On the third.
It's the first.
That is, yes, on the 24th, correct.
August.
And are you available, Angie?
Looks like it's August 4th,
I believe so.
Okay.
Might
Tuesday.
not be here. Well, I'll try to be that. That's my first day of my vacation. But if it's 3:00, then I can go later.
Okay, so we will move next month's meeting to August 24th.
Okay.
Give us a good reminder, Angie.
I'm gonna go.
I don't want to be sitting in the parking lot on the third Monday saying, okay. what did I say?
And then I know you've sent versions of the park plan to us. If we're having a hearing next month, it would be good to have the latest.
Refresh.
A refresh. Could you resend us the latest,
Oh, it's gonna work out better.
the parks plan, master park plan?
Yes,
Or is that something we can pick up and send along?
I don't have a printed. Do I?
I'm fine with the PDF.
I did make printed copies. Yeah.
Okay.
I might have them available after the meeting.
All right. Is there any other business, anything to bring up? That'd be good.
Yes, there is one other thing. I want TSP is still moving along. We're now to the point that we're selecting a consultant, and then it goes to get the contract awarded, and then things will begin. So that's why I left some open dates or some open meetings that we might have some introductory materials. But no, we're still on the board with that.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Seconded? We're adjourned.
Thank you.